I couldn't walk for days. Imagine. I was. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJ podcast. Maximize your strength. It's one of those things, you're lifting weights, but you're not sure, maybe I'm not as strong as I could be. What can I do to improve this workout so I get stronger? Let's talk about it, Joseph. How can the people maximize their strengths?
So we see a lot of common things in the gym, and we also see a lot of common threads with the users of our program. We get videos sent through, whether they post it on the coaching chat on our group, or they send it privately to Instagram and stuff.
Yes, sir.
And this first one is really something that I observe a lot, and I think is a huge, it's going to be a huge upgrade for everyone out there, which is to lift slower.
What?
Now, whether you're doing, we say lift, but whether you're...
Excuse me?
Right? Whether it's body weight training or you're lifting weights, but slower. So let's just use a squat as an example. Slow on the way down, slow on the way up. Now, slow doesn't mean I'm not saying super duper slow. I'm not saying like a 5-second count, like something like that. But what I'm saying is be in control throughout the entire movement. And if we look at how a lot of people approach exercising, taking the squat, they tend to just drop into the bottom. Yes. It's like I drop to the bottom and then I push up.
Bounce out.
Drop to the bottom. Yeah. And here's the thing, there is a place if you're a more on the advanced realm of strength training, then yes, training for power and explosiveness requires that you move fast. But most of the people that we're dealing with are not. And that means then that the foundation of true strength hasn't been built yet. And when we're talking strength as in how much weight can you lift, right? Like what's your numbers kind of thing, but also how's the density of your connective tissue and how's the control of your body while under load. And training fast is almost a right you haven't earned yet.
Yeah, I think as a process of order, if you've got to have stability before you have strength, right? Like if you can't stand up and balance without falling over, then you can't squat 100 kilos. So you've got to think, if I don't have stability in my shoulder, I can't have a strong shoulder. Also, you have to understand, obviously without getting too esoteric and talk about speed strength, but if we talk about power and speed, that is strength times it's force times acceleration, right? To equal power. You have to be able to produce force before you can accelerate it.
Yeah.
So essentially, there's plenty of people out there, yeah, but how about plyometrics? How about explosiveness? Yeah, but if you can't even just control your own body weight or control a low load, going straight away to those things, you're much more likely to break. Why? So talking to Joe's point about tendon and ligament strength, which we really need for jiu-jitsu, what builds tendon and ligament strength is time under tension. Spending that little bit longer under load means you actually get more from it. Now, once you can demonstrate that, I can squat this weight with control without my technique breaking down, you now have permission to go a little bit heavier. But typically where we see it, or at least where I see it, people tend to rush when they get tired. They start to get, their technique falters a bit, so they're like, I just got to get them out, just get those reps, whether it be a chin up, a push up. People are rushing because they don't want to fatigue. They don't want to
trying to stay ahead of the fatigue.
Yeah, if I just go quickly, it'll be fine. That's not the case. So definitely in terms of slowing it down, every time I've had to try to work through to the next level of my strength in a movement, slowing it down was a big part of that. Whether it would be slow eccentrics, tempo squats. When I say tempo, I'm not talking fast. I'm talking 5 seconds down, 5 seconds up. Slow tempo is grueling, but it's great. And then pauses.
Yep.
Pauses is a real example of your ability to control a position.
Yep. Yeah, and control really is the thing that we're getting at here. I've had that situation a couple of times recently where I've come to training with some water, but I haven't had any electrolytes, and I've finished training and I've had to go to a convenience shop and buy myself some kind of sports drink, usually a Gatorade. Cost me $7. It's small and it really doesn't contain that much of the good stuff that I'm looking for, which are the electrolytes. Sodi, on the other hand, is my partner when it comes to hydration, and I'd simply just run out of it. And it sucks because I got to go buy expensive stuff that doesn't do anywhere near as good a job. I'm super stoked that we've been restocked with the sodi, and now I can be properly hydrated when I train jiu-jitsu. This has always been an underexplored aspect of my training, and I'm so stoked that we now have these guys in place to support us and also the listeners of the show. So if you want to be hydrated on the mats so that you can perform at your best and have the best mental clarity while training, get yourself some sodi. Go to sodi.com.au. That's SODII.com.au. Get yourself some delicious hydration salts and use the code bulletproof15 for 15% off. Go to sodi.com.au. Get yourself hydrated. I think too, for a lot of people, when they visualize what's important in strength training, they think about just the coming up.
Yeah.
Or the pulling up section. And then you just get yourself back down so you can do it again.
Yeah.
But the whole movement's important, and there's benefit to the whole movement. So control the whole thing.
Yeah. And also you got to think about the exercise itself. Like the eccentric phase for a squat is the first part of the lift. So whereas for a deadlift, it's concentric, which is a little bit different. So, there's people out there who will say, oh, I don't. You've probably seen it where someone's deadlifting, they come up to the top and they just drop the bar. They just do the concentric phase. They just do the up bit. And they go, oh, well, doing the eccentric phase, it makes me sore and I don't want to have to deal with that. And it's like, well, there are benefits. Now, let's put it in context. There's benefits to just doing the concentric phase, right? There is.
Sport-specific benefits.
Sport-specific, for sure. But there's also huge benefits in the lowering phase where you're going to get really great stimulus to grow muscle, strengthen tendons, strengthen ligaments. And that is required in BJJ. You do have to be able to, if someone jumps guard on you, you've got to be able to suddenly lower them down to the ground without just dumping them and you get DQ'd because someone jumps guard on you. You know what I mean? Like there's a thing to bodily control where you being able to control your body and then add an external load is so applicable to jiu-jitsu because you're going to have to do it when someone's trying to sweep you or take you down.
Yeah. And I think probably the last reason I like slow is because most people don't have particularly good body awareness in the gym. This we just know. Like, unless you've been coached, unless you've been through a consistent training process, if you're newer to the thing, you're not going to have great awareness around it. And so when you're moving fast, you don't have time to be aware. But when you're moving slow, you do have the time. And so it's going to set you up for success down the track if you can build this awareness now, whatever. It's to make you better at jits, make you better in the gym, whatever other sport you want to play.
And it's also underexplored.
Yeah.
Typically, people are like, once I can lift a weight, I'll just lift it faster. I'll just, that's the next step. When actually, that's not necessarily the case. And also, we tend to think as humans, just put more weight on the bar. Well, you can actually milk the weight you've got there, reduce your chance of injury by adding more time under tension. You can get stronger lifting the same weight, which is kind of crazy. So if you're at home, you're training at home and you're like, oh yeah, but I've only got these, 30-pound dumbbells or whatever it might be. Well, you can actually get a fair bit out of the exercise just by slowing those reps down, like 2 count, whatever. We're not talking slow motion Matrix-esque kind of thing.
Well, this brings us to the next point, I think.
Yeah. So what is our next point, Joe?
Next point is that you want to be making things a little bit harder every session or every week. So, I got my session. We say every week generally because it's like your programs are based on a 1 week cycle. So it's like, cool. I do, my deadlifts and stuff on a Monday, and I got my pull-ups and shit on a Wednesday, and then next Monday, next Wednesday, same shit.
Sure.
So you want to make things a little bit harder next week. And then the week after, a little bit harder again. Now, for those of you that are more familiar with the whole program thing, you're like, yeah, no shit. Like, that's what strength training is. But for a lot of folks, they don't know this, right? For a lot of folks that are coming from that, I'm not trying to, like when you talk about, I'm not trying to get big, trying to maintain. It's like, I'm just going to lift the same thing week in, week out forever, right? And we see it with our people where they'll be like, hey, can I get feedback on this exercise? And you'd be like, yeah, great, or not. Like, here's the feedback. How long you been lifting? Oh, I've been using this weight for a couple of months now. Should I go up? And I'm like, well, it looks pretty good. You should definitely make something harder.
Yeah.
Now, how you make it harder might be more weight on the bar. It might be more reps, might be another set, might be slowing down the tempo, right? Which method you use, in my opinion, of course, if you're following a program, do what the program says. But generally speaking, I don't really care as long as it's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
That as a concept is the most important thing.
The method that I like, which is just kind of like it's kind of like the idiot's guide to, progressive overload. Now, I learned this from my Russian coach because I am somebody, I don't ego lift, but I do emotion lift. If I'm feeling good, Joey's looking at me like he's smiling. No, but like,
I've seen your 1RM videos on Instagram.
Right, I don't feel good every day. I don't. I get in there sometimes, I'm like, dang, I'm a little bitch. And I can't, I haven't got it every day, and that's okay. But if I walk in the gym and I feel good, I'm like, the program, I am maxing today. This is a mistake, my friends. Don't do that. I've just come off the back.
Like, how often would you max?
Like
monthly?
Yeah, maybe once a month. Not on the same lift.
Yeah,
I might just be like, wow, overhead press is good today. I wonder if I can press the 40. 40's good.
Let's just see.
Let's just keep going. Like, where can this party go? Awesome.
I never go max ever.
No,
Isn't this
no.
just fun, as a funny indicator of our personalities?
Yeah, but it's because like Joe, and I've had this argument with my coach of him before. My life is not that interesting. Like I don't do exciting things. So me just picking up 5 kilos here, I'm like, I'm living. Woo! Like, how exciting is this? What I'm saying to you guys, this is what I would recommend. And I do stick to this generally, and this is what we recommend for our people in the program. If you're starting at, and we often give rep ranges like 8 to 12 or 3 to 6, that you start at 5 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 8. Then once
bottom of the rep range.
Then the next time you come back, based on how you're doing, you might add a rep per set until you can do the maximum, like the set range with the maximum rep range.
Yeah, top of the rep range.
Three. Now doing 3 sets of 12. Now you have added, kind of 30% of the volume of where you were. Go up a little bit in weight and then go back down. This is a very controlled, conservative, safe way for you to be getting stronger. You gradually build your volume and then add a little bit of weight. Gradually build your volume, and this works. It doesn't sound super exciting. It's not a max, but it's the chip away consistency you need to build real strength.
Yeah, and it's also not it's not like life-changing shit week to week.
Mm-mm.
And this is what you see from people who are maybe less experienced with it, but who are like really, like, people who get a bit carried away with it, we could say, they're like, but just adding 2.5 kilos on last week, like, I reckon I could add 10. And you're like, that's fine, but can you add 10 the week after and the week after? Probably not.
No.
So why don't we just do 2.5 and 2.5? And why don't we just do that every week?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's this short-term view of like, nah, I'm feeling good today. Let's go up more.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, don't take a big bite. Just little ones every time.
But I'm hungry, Joe.
Yeah.
I want it. The dog.
I mean, this is the thing, right? If you go up 2.5 kilograms every week, what's that in a year, JT?
Well, it just depends. Well, so you got 52 weeks in the year, but you don't always got. Let's just say
it's 130 kilos in the year.
It's a lot.
So,
but not all move like.
No, but let's say you're deadlifting and you're like, okay, I'm going to go up 2.5 kilos every week. Motherfucker, you are not adding 130 to your deadlift this year.
Well,
if you're brand new, maybe, and you start at 2.5 kilos, but you're probably going to be starting at 60.
I think part of the reason why this happens is when people start in the gym, you do have newbie gains. Like, newbie gains is a real thing.
Yeah.
Your adaptation in the first 3 to 6 months of training, if you haven't really lifted before, it's colossal. Like, your nervous system adapts, your muscles adapt. You're like, I've gone from couldn't barely squat my body weight, I'm back squatting 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Wow. Now the growth curve is not like that. It kind of evens out of it. It gets harder, right? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, what my coach would advocate for is 1% better a week. He believed if you can get 50% better in a year, that's a huge increase.
That's huge.
Because you put that because it compounds, right?
Yeah.
1% or 1%, 1%. And then he said, you get to the next year and you keep improving 1% per week, it's more than 100% better in 2 years because it's...
Yeah, because the compounding nature.
The compounding is crazy.
You'll be deadlifting 500 kilos within a couple of years.
Yeah, well, it just depends on, can you be that consistent?
Yeah.
And almost no one can. Life throws spanners in the works. But if you do everything in the right way and you are gradually increasing, not just rocketing up, you're going to be good.
This episode is brought to you by Parry Athletics, the exclusive apparel sponsor of the Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. We've been working with these guys for quite some time now. We absolutely love the company. We love their gear, both for training and also just looking slick off the mats. They got excellent no-gi wears, shorts, t-shirts, all that cool stuff. If you want to get yourself into some Parry clothes or you want to rock the Bulletproof for BJJ exclusive merch, you got to go through Parry, go to parryathletics.com and use the code bulletproof20 to get 20% off your order. They ship internationally.
Let me talk about a mistake I made last week based on enthusiasm. And don't let me to be one to curb anyone's enthusiasm, but it's classic squatting, feeling pretty good. And I was like, you know what? I haven't been doing my back off sets. Like typically I would work up to my working weight and do that. And then afterwards, I would do anywhere from 1 to 3 back off sets where you reduce the weight to 70% or 60% of what you were squatting, and then you might do an AMRAP or a set amount of reps. And I hadn't been doing that for a couple of months. And I was like, I'm being a pussy here. I'm avoiding this. I should be doing it. So I did an AMRAP set and did 15 reps and cooked myself. And I was like, nah, not enough. I need a second AMRAP set. And I did it. And I was like, oh my God, my quads are so gone. And I was like, okay, pistols. All right, I've been working on my pistols. I usually do 3 accessory. My accessories are usually shorter. I'm usually a bit, and I was like, no, fuck that. I'm going to do 5. You know, and this is what we're trying to say with the gradual increase. If you think say you do 3 sets of 5, so you're doing 15 reps. If you add another set, you've increased it 33%. Yeah. Without increasing any weight. Your volume is 33%
significantly higher. That's more than 1% just for the non-mathematicians out there.
In case the math don't math. I added 2 sets. I went up
from 15 to 25 reps.
Yeah, 60 sets. And you're going, it's just a couple extra sets. That's 66% increase. For what? For what am I doing that? After I'd done this AMRAP, and then I was like, you know what? I haven't written myself off enough. I'm going to do leg extensions. I don't do leg extensions anymore. Usually do other exercises. I'm like, nah, I'm going to make these quads pump. So I did 3 max out leg extension sets, and then I couldn't walk for days. Imagine. I was this past weekend, nothing happening in JT Town. Like Joe's like, what'd you do on the weekend? Bro, recovering. Deep heat everywhere, my guy. Trying not to burn my balls off because I was lathered up in deep heat. Anyway, don't do that. Like that is an example of what not to do because I got a little bit excited.
Yeah, took too big a bite.
I did, which is typical of me. Choked to death, most likely cause of death. But now let's talk about something else which people also do not consider when maximizing their strengths. Tech.
Yeah, so getting feedback, like visual feedback on your technique now, or getting feedback. So one of the simplest ways you can do this is to video yourself at an angle that shows you, like, gives you a good view of your form, and then watching it, you know, either at the time, after the set, or like later. But being able to see what you're doing, and mirrors at the gym can be helpful for this, but usually you shouldn't actually be looking in the mirror while you're doing the set, right? You should be like putting your eye line wherever it needs to be in a good alignment. So watching yourself on camera goes a huge way.
Yes.
But an even better step on that is to have someone who actually knows, like someone who's a reasonable coach, or at least knows what good technique looks like, get them to watch it for you. Now, you might have someone in the gym that you train, like a training buddy. It might be someone else in the gym that's maybe it's a coach that's there, like a PT that's walking around. You're fucking, hey man, you take a look at my squat, tell me what you think. Like really, I think people don't do this enough. And in most Globo gyms, you've got PTs there. All the PT wants to do is flex their training knowledge.
They do.
So when you say, you don't even have to video. So, hey man, can you check my set and give me some feedback? Great. You're getting free advice there, right? If you're in our program, you obviously have us. That's why we always say, hey, send us a video so we can see. A video says so much, and getting that feedback is like, it's such a hack on, it's like if you were doing jiu-jitsu, trying to get better at it, but you didn't have a coach. Imagine
your coach just didn't tell you.
Yeah, but like imagine you were just training by yourself with a grappling dummy and no one to tell you about your and then you go to a gym where you got a coach that's like teaching you things and telling you what you're doing wrong.
Amazing.
Like one of those is a really fast way to progress. The other one's like super slow. This super slow one is what most people are doing in the gym, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting any feedback at all. And so, yeah, find a way to get that.
Yeah, and I think you shouldn't feel self-conscious about videoing yourself, even though I know there's all this different crap about people filming themselves in the gym. Part of the reason why other than vanity or Instagram, there's a lot of people who are getting coached online. So their coach will say, send me a video of that set. So they can give you feedback. It is actually important for you to be improving technically. And even though there's some people out there who might be quite beastly just off raw determination, just one or two little bits of technical feedback can actually take your strength up like 20%, like just almost immediately.
Yeah.
And we've seen it as coaches too, that someone comes to us and they're doing a movement. You're like, oh, hang on a second. Let's just change your grip a little, change your stance a little. Now do that. How's that feel? People are like, oh, it's easy. Like, there's the unlock. Now use that tool going forward. And it's massive. I think that this is definitely the most underexplored element that could be holding your strength back, for sure.
I got a bonus fourth point.
Please.
Make sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Do it now, and you will get stronger.
So much stronger.